Welcome, patrons. Do you remember when I said that I would go over the Dragon Age phone game when I ran out of content to discuss? Well, turns out the real answer to that was when I ran out of hard drive space. When I was first asked that question, I didn't have an easy way to record videos on my phone, but honestly, only a few weeks after answering that question, I updated my iPhone to find that it now had a built-in recording app. So with no other excuses, I downloaded the game, recorded every time I played, and now that I've put in a good amount of time, I think I actually have to do a review so I can reclaim some of my hard drive space. So let's talk about Heroes of Dragon Age. History. To start, I want to say that this is going to be a vague history lesson of the game so far. I'm not going to go into the different version histories that much because in the end it just doesn't really matter. Also, keep in mind that this is a game that is constantly being updated and changed. Even after this video comes out, things I could complain about could be gone or altered. And unlike my other videos of Dragon Age tie-ins, this is the only one that hasn't really ended yet. But that being said, I don't think the game's end state will be that much different from what it is now, at least to the history of the major Dragon Age games as a whole. But if something does come up, I'll probably end up plopping it into a random update video that I'll make sure to add to the Dragon Age tie-in YouTube playlist I have. So with that disclaimer out of the way, the game first came out on December 5th, 2013, a little under a year before Dragon Age Inquisition was released. This is one of the few Dragon Age games not made by BioWare. Well, sort of. So the company that built this game is now known as Capital Games, another EA property that focuses on mobile games. But when it was first bought, it was known as BioWare Sacramento. The name was changed in 2014, so I guess it was technically released by BioWare. But before it was bought by EA, it was known as Click Nation, known for other free-to-play games like Six Gun Galaxy and Age of Champions. Now, I will also say that I ended up uncovering a few news articles that state that the founders of Click Nation were involved in some shady and perhaps criminal business practices that involve scamming employees and/or investors. This was published not long after EA bought the company, and when looking into the names given, I hadn't actually found any recent information involving them. So at this moment, I'm not actually sure if they still work for Capital Games or if these accusations are even true. This is all based on one Redditor that I guess got really upset and took to a bunch of various gaming subreddits, reposting the same tangent over and over until news sites picked it up. I bring this up to inform, and while there are a lot of details I'm leaving out, including one article that mentions an anonymous source that confirms much of what the original post was detailing, although maybe it's even the same person, I don't really know, I'm not really going to focus on it. Mostly because it's been about 6 years since this drama came out, and you would think that if it was still continuing, we would have heard more about it by now. Because of what I read, only 2 people came forward and both were anonymous and could very well be the same person. I'm not sure if these are actually even accurate. And all that aside, this is a video about a game, not a company. As a side note, what is interesting is that on their current website, they really only flaunt Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes in a new secret project. I couldn't find any references to Heroes of Dragon Age at all. Then again, it is almost a 6-year-old game, so it's understandable. Now, at launch, the game got mixed reviews by news outlets and shunned by a lot of more serious gamers. But the game holds mostly positive reviews on the App Store and does seem to have a cult following, and rumored to still turn a decent profit to this day. From my own experience when looking for people to battle with, I found a lot of names that were not in English, implying that this game is more popular in other countries than it is here. Even when I would play at what should be peak times in North America, I would still see a large percentage of Chinese or Russian names. So despite the reputation it has among Dragon Age fans as being the greedy, free-to-play thing we don't actually talk about, the game is constantly adding new characters, new events, even new giveaways. While you may not be the target audience for this, there does seem to be enough of one to keep this game going for 6 years. Heroes of Dragon Age. Before I really go off on this, I want to state that this is just not my type of game. Even if this is a great addition to this type of game genre, it's not something I enjoy, and that is going to color a lot of what I have to say about this. It's hard to talk about the gameplay when the game they advertise and try to focus on isn't actually the fun part of the game. In short, you collect figurines, level them up in various ways, then choose 4 little ones and 1 large one in a set to fight some other collection of figurines. While there are battles, you don't actually battle, you just watch the figurines battle. At least for the first few moments of playing, then you just end up fast forwarding them because it's a bit boring to watch it all the time. When I was playing the game, I would end up watching YouTube videos on the computer or something else because there is just a lot of sit around and wait time while battling and looking for an opponent that you can actually take on. There are 3 types of battles that you can do. A single-player story mode that takes you on a journey through various settings in the Dragon Age world, like retracing the steps of the 5th Blight. This is the only thing I really completed, so I'll go over this in a bit later. A player versus player mode where you can battle other players around the world while fighting to be ranked. These are also event-based, so different types of teams can do better than others during some events, and winning battles also gets you different prizes. I also played this a fair amount because it's one of the few ways you can actually level up and get some decent loot, if you will. And finally, single-player events. Some actually need keys to unlock that you can obtain through PvP mode events, or they just are open for the public. This was actually stuff I played the least because every time I tried to enter one, it ended up being much higher level than what I could do. So this seems more like endgame content. Now, with a game that has been out for years, you might be asking yourself if it's hard to catch up with the older players. And it sort of is, but not to the point where I found it disheartening. It was a challenge to level up enough to be able to actually hold my own in PvP, but I was able to find my way in and did fairly well within a month or so of playing. But like I said, this isn't actually the game, or at least it didn't feel like it. These modes felt more like a parade and a test rather than the actual challenge of the game. The real game of Heroes of Dragon Age comes in collecting, leveling, organizing, merging, and placing items on your figurines. I had the most fun finding the characters I liked in the game and placing them into my party, and not in the actual battles at all. I found myself battling to earn coins, playing the single-player mode to earn gems, and I wanted to earn them so that I could place my offering into the Dragon Age Gashapon and hope I got the real Gilder Thalin figurine. Which I did, by the way, and it was easily the most rewarding part of this whole process. This is also the part where we should talk about the microtransactions. I want to say beforehand that I never paid for anything in this game, as in general I'm against microtransactions and I vote with my dollars. So I'm not sure how this game differs to those who do pay and how the dollars amount would compare to a game like this. But I never did feel pressured to purchase anything. Most things I wanted to buy were bought with coins and gems, and it wasn't too bad to earn them naturally in-game as long as I was patient about it. So if you don't have patience, then perhaps this game isn't for you. I still think the prices are perhaps a bit much for a game this old, but then again, I'm not the audience to buy these things, and as this game is still active and apparently making a profit, it seems they are making enough to at least be worth this price. But all that being said, while I never felt pressured to buy the microtransactions, they are subtly everywhere. Ran out of something? Why not just buy some more? It did feel a little off-putting for me to see how much could be bought with real money. Another thing I want to touch on that annoyed me is that it's still kind of a glitchy game. The most notable glitch I had in the iPhone version is that sometimes the health bar would go down well before the battle was over. The game had already done the math, and I won or lost, and I was just waiting for the graphics to catch up. It made the battles feel even more worthless than usual. Another problem I had with the game is that who or what the figurines are doesn't matter at all with their usefulness in battle. So in the end, my main party consisted of Solus, Aveline, Josephine, the real Gilder Thalin, and the Nightmare Demon Spider Thing. From that lineup, can you guess who the most powerful figurine was? It was Josephine. Time and time again, the rest of my party would KO when she would end up taking the entire opposition. You would never in a million years guess that Josephine was a death machine from playing the games. Even before I leveled her up to the highest level, she would just destroy almost everything in her path. It was amazing. And then the other seemingly more powerful characters would be okay at best. Solus? Yeah, I guess he helped, but nowhere close to Josephine. It just felt like any knowledge I had about the series was completely and utterly useless, and when I got excited about getting a character I love, thinking it would be good in my party, it was deflated when I found out they were absolutely worthless. The story, I guess... So there really isn't much to a story, but when I started playing, it was the one thing I was searching for. So for you, random watcher who wants to know even the smallest tiny details about the Dragon Age universe, I am here to report. At the moment, the only story is from the single-player mode, and by story, I mean theme, because it's not like this game tells any story, it's more like themed areas to places or events that we know. For the single-player mode, there are currently 17 area themes to progress through. Rather than go into detail about all 17, I'm just going to throw on screen all the most interesting bits in those areas, because there just really isn't much, so just pause and enjoy when it comes up. The First Blight. Zathrian's Curse. The Deep Roads. The Rise of the Carta, The Highway, Arlathan, The Circle Tower, March of the Dales, Parvalin, The Black Marsh, Broken Circle, Bartrand's Expedition, Navarra's Plight, Chateau Hain, Dalish Alluvion, Shadows of Blackmarsh, The Mark. There are also single-player events that have similar things, with perhaps the most interesting one as of late being the one based on the Dreadwolf Rises trailer. But even then, and much like the rest of the game, it's not like this holds any special lore behind it. It's just remixing what we already know to fit into this format. There is also the tutorial elven woman that appears in the trailer and then never again, so I'm not sure if she has a name or not, but she's a character, I guess. The art. So probably the most well-known part of this little game is the artwork behind it. There are a fair amount of characters in the series that are never actually seen in-game but are well-loved by fans, and many of those characters have no official artwork other than the concept stuff from this mobile game. Each figurine also visually changes at most level-ups, so there's a lot of fun artwork showing the progression of a beloved character, going from weak in state to a powerful one. The problem, however, is that these works are not always faithful to the character. In some cases, it's very minor, like Evangeline's hair being black in the novel and then brown in this game. Sometimes it's just that the rendering on the faces is a bit dopey and sort of funny, like Solus. In other cases, it gets a bit more extreme, like Zevran, who looks absolutely nothing like he does in the games or any other artwork in existence, to Vea, who suddenly, somehow, got more pale than I am. I'm not sure how the artwork is so hit or miss with this game, but there is at least one artist or editor on the team that just doesn't seem to be doing their homework, and it kind of shows. I can't tell you how many times I would see a character and honestly have no idea who they are based on looks alone. But all that being said, I still think the artwork for this game has been its most promising feature. While there are a lot of problems, it's still fun to look at. My thoughts. So in general, I don't like this game, and I'm not going to continue playing it unless something major happens. Like, I'll keep it on my phone, but I'm not going to open it up anytime soon. But that being said, it wasn't a huge drag to play either. Like I said, this isn't a type of game I enjoy, but more than that, something about the combo of microtransactions and collection of figurines just disturbs me a little. This is the type of game I don't want to see more of because I think in general it can prey on those who aren't very good with their money and end up spending way too much on a phone game they sort of enjoy. But all that out of the way, I don't want to say I hate this game or that it even sucks, because it doesn't, really. A lot of care was put into it, and there are a whole bunch of people working on this behind the scenes that are doing a good and honest job. It's not their fault that the higher-ups decided to make a game like this. So while I don't like what it is, it's pretty well made, all things considered, which is why I think it lasted almost 6 years, while my beloved Sailor Moon Drops has not. While I will always love Sailor Moon Drops more, their setup with microtransactions was fair to the point of not even needing them, so it didn't make money and was canned. Heroes of Dragon Age has seemed to find that balance and has floated along, and probably will float on for a few more years to come. And that, dear patrons, is all that I have to say on Heroes of Dragon Age. Until it, explodes or something else major happens, which I don't think will be for a while, but I don't know. Just some lingering questions, proof that I'm wrong, comments about your own fan theory. Feel free to tweet me at @Gildathon on Twitter or send a PM to user Gillanon on Reddit. Dress all.